Okay, folks, thank you for listening today. I'm really excited to be talking to Woody Lockwood in Raleigh, North Carolina. And Woody and his business partners these guys have just built some extremely popular, successful restaurants and businesses in Raleigh. I mean, and they've just kind of had one hit after another. So from Busy Bee Cafe to Trophy Brewing to State of Beer, which they opened just in December, and then they're working on a second Trophy Brewing location. So, Woody, first of all, hey, man, congratulations on the success you guys have had in relatively speaking, in a pretty short period of time.
Thank you. Yeah, it's we're coming up on the 6th anniversary of the Bee, which was our first venture. So it's sometimes hard to believe it's been 6 years already, and so yeah, we're excited. We're having fun with beer.
Well, you guys are just what strikes me about you and Chris, and I haven't met David, but I've met Les as well. We filmed Les, and y'all are all you're just maybe this is really part of what's helped you be successful. I think you work hard, but you're very humble. You're very unassuming, and you seem to just kind of keep your heads down and just set a great example for your staff, and really love. You just all seem to have a lot of passion for what you do. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. I think the four of us that you mentioned, we all have different strengths, and I think the one common thing that's good is we all are good about not having an ego in any of the different angles that we look at things, and we all have our strengths, and we all sort of let the other people do what they're good at and try to do what we at least think we're good at. So yeah, it all seems to work. But yeah, craft beer is certainly the big passion, especially for Chris and I, that got us going.
Yeah, and you guys, you've managed to balance that partnership really well. I mean, several guys involved. I'm sure there's times when you don't agree or whatever, but how do you do that? Like, what advice would you have for folks that are getting into this that, some folks kind of go it alone and some have partners, and, when you have partners, there's a lot of pros and positive things that can come with that. There's also challenges at times when we don't see eye to eye. So how do you guys manage that really well, like you have?
Certainly, a high level of trust is probably the most important thing. If you don't trust the people that you're partnering with, you probably shouldn't be doing things together in the first place. So, if we were all good at the exact same things, it might be tougher. But we've all had different experiences, and I just, if I disagree, I'll just ask my partners to explain why they have a different point of view, and I'll certainly offer mine. And we've never really run into any heated arguments over things. We certainly don't always agree, but we're respectful of each other's opinions, and sometimes it comes down to a vote, and someone might get outvoted, and there's just honestly, I think that trying to not have an ego in the game certainly helps there. We take all the info we can and make the best decision we can, and so far it's generally worked out for us for the best.
Now, let me ask you this, because you mentioned trust, and I completely agree with that. In my experience, that's been so critical. But do you have that level of trust? Had y'all worked together? Had y'all all worked together in the past and had that experience together, so you knew that you could trust each other?
So Chris and I had worked together. We had been servers together. We had been bartenders together. We bartended together for several years. Chris was actually the bar manager when I got behind the bar with him, and so technically he was my boss back then. So the two of us, were friends for almost 10 years before we opened the Bee, and so we had always talked about doing something together. So there was certainly a level of trust there. when we decided to partner up with David, he, certainly had a strength we didn't have, which was real estate. And he was, on the lookout for a place for us. And Chris had worked with David, and I never had. So there was a big curve there where we were getting to know each other and getting to trust each other. And, he knew that Chris and I were great friends. And so, while he never expressed any concerns, I'm sure that was, there were some nerve-wracking moments when he, maybe worried that we would try to strong-arm certain decisions, but it just, our personalities just never played out that way. So, thankfully, none of us have super strong, aggressive personalities. So we've always, calmly approached each decision, each situation, and it's worked out.
Yeah, that's a good thing. That can be tough, I think, in a partnership with multiple people if one or more have a really that strong kind of aggressive personality. So you guys have really found a good balance with that. And you've got Les, who's your brewer, who I think is a fascinating story because he's, doing amazing work for you all and has for a few years now. But he was brewing out of his house, right, when you all brought him in?
Correct. Yeah, so we knew Les from when we opened the Bee. He was a regular. He came in. We actually did a little series on our website for the first year or so that the Bee was open where we were featuring homebrewers, and Les was actually the first homebrewer that we featured there. So I actually didn't make it to his house that day, but Chris and David went to his house, brewed with him all day, took some pictures, and interviewed him. And he was recommended by a friend, as someone to talk to that was making great beer. And we just got to know him over the years. And when we finally approached him with the idea of opening a brewery, it was honestly, there are lots of people that make great beer in town. We obviously preferred his, but a huge part of that decision was that we knew his personality meshed with all three of us, and we were excited to be around him, to drink beer with him, to, he's just such a positive person that that decision was easy, and he was the only person we ever approached about brewing. And so that, he fit right into the mold with the fact that, we're all really excited about beer and we want to be creative with beer, but he's the perfect personality of, we just sort of let him go and run with ideas and give him feedback and just, all the things I said before, he works with that mold perfectly where we can give honest feedback. We don't love something and he doesn't, have his feelings hurt. We just move on and brew the next beer.
That's cool, man. That brings up so many interesting elements, Woody. One is that, you guys, I think you do a lot of things naturally that are, you kind of are instinctual. You trust your gut on things that maybe not are is not as maybe conventional. For instance, a lot of people would say, hey, in a partnership, you need to have, one person who's sort of the chief or whatever, who's going to, lead the crew or whatever. And you guys you don't even have a chief kind of personality, if you will. And it's worked real well. And then you have this guy who you bring in to help start Trophy, which is, you're going to brew beer, and you don't go and find somebody that's been brewing beer professionally for 15 or 20 years. You trust in a guy who is doing a good job in his house. That's a big statement for your ability to think outside the box and, like you said, to have trust in somebody. Did you all was that something that was concerned you, or did you just feel like we know this guy can do it?
It was certainly a lot of conversations over late night beers when we were all done working at the Bee. Once we approached Les, he was extremely excited at the prospect of it. I don't claim to say that it was a perfectly thought out decision, but I think Chris and I were confident with our knowledge of the industry, and I think we had a real want to learn the brewery business, from the ground up. Maybe we could have sought someone out from a big name brewery or, brought someone in from even a local brewery, but the the idea of learning it all together and the idea of Les's excitement was probably what, helped us form those decisions. We don't always claim to make the best the best decisions, whether it be financially or all different ways, but it was just something we were immediately comfortable with, the idea of learning the industry together. And we all shared the same excitement. We all knew the kind of beers that we liked, which is most anything, that we were all on the same page as far as things we were excited about, so that it really wasn't that tough of a decision to make, I guess.
That's really neat. And for those of you listening, look up Les Stewart in Raleigh. He's making incredible beer. He's just really well regarded, and you guys really can't make it fast enough, I guess. It seems like at Trophy. Is that part, because you're expanding, you're building a second location, which is going to be, am I right, a whole lot bigger than where you are now?
Correct. We're maxed out on space, so yeah. While it's been a nice problem to say that we can't keep up with beer, it's really a very small operation. 3 barrels, which is the equivalent of 6 full-size kegs, is what we're brewing, at any one time. We're just maxed out on space for fermentation at the current location. So we're looking to build a 20-barrel system, which is on par with some of the bigger local breweries in the Raleigh area, and probably the Charlotte area as well. So not going to be gigantic. We're not trying to build something that's going to be distributing, nationwide. But it's certainly going to be a substantial project. And if people do get the chance to meet Les or look him up, he's, one of the warmest personalities, one of the most excited people you'll ever meet, and he's doing a lot more than just beer. He's really well known in the community for doing all kinds of great things, he and his wife, Nicole. So there couldn't really be someone that I'd be more excited to work with than Les on this. And, it's fun. It's fun building this system together, seeing his excitement for, yet another thing that we're all going to learn together. So
that's really cool. And folks, if you're listening, by the way, we made a video about Les last year. If you go to Vimeo.com, Vimeo, and you just type in like Les Stewart, the brewer. We call it the film The Brewer, but it's like a 3 or 4 minute video about Les, and you'll just really appreciate his enthusiasm and his passion and his love for what he does. It just comes right through the screen. So I'm sure he'll do an amazing job with the second location too. And one thing I'm curious about, you guys are you really love and you're so passionate about good beer and good craft beer. And I want to ask you about 2 things. One is I want to ask you about the state of beer. But before I do that, there are lots and lots and lots of people brewing beer now. There are lots of craft beers out there now. So how do you how do you make good beer that stands out, I guess, is the question I have as a novice on the topic.
It's tough. There are tons of new beers showing up, and there are, whether they're local or not, there are things that are being distributed now. There are new items almost every single week that we're getting exposed to, especially more at State of Beer in bottle form. But, I think we quickly made people realize we're not going to make the same beer every single day, which just wasn't going to be an exciting thing for us. We didn't want to be the standard. We have a pale ale, a porter, a stout, an IPA. We wanted to be making things that excited us, and Chris and I have the luxury. One of the perks of the job is that we get to travel, to different beer events, and Les too. So we see the trends, we see what people are excited about. We see, when there are new hops that we try and we're excited to use. We see, when people several years ago were getting excited for sour beers, we knew we wanted to do those things. And I don't know, the excitement wouldn't be the same if we were brewing the same thing every day. And I think the community has embraced that, and they're, I think they realize they might not love every single beer that we come out with, but I think they sort of trust that we're doing our research. We're trying to get the best ingredients that we can, and we're taking the best stab at each style as we can. And certainly having pizza has helped over there too, get people over there to eat as well. So it's been exciting to have people. I think all of the local breweries are doing well. Us having food makes us a little bit different, so we can maybe get people in the door a little bit earlier. And but I think just craft beer in general is so exciting, and we're just fortunate to be in a great area where people are receptive to it. So.
Yeah, Raleigh's a good community for it. But and let's not. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned the pizza. I mean, I've been to Trophy. Your pizza is fantastic. What do y'all do? I mean, how do you make such good pizza? Really fresh ingredients, or what? Because it really is. I mean, like, you get really good pizza and really good beer, and that's just. I mean, there's people like that. I mean, that's an appealing notion any day of the week, just about. So, how are you making such good food for everybody?
We certainly didn't reinvent the wheel with that one, pizza and beer, but we have a chef, David Mitchell, who's another part of the equation, who has been at the Bee for over 3 years now. He oversees the Bee kitchen, the Trophy kitchen, and the State of Beer kitchen, and he's been fantastic, since we found him. And that pizza dough recipe was his. All the pizza ideas were his to begin with. He now has a great staff over there, and they come up with a lot of things as well. But yeah, he got to have some fun learning how to make pizza dough before we opened the Trophy, and certainly the produce is what makes it great. We make the dough and the sauce fresh. We use the secret ingredient, beer, in both the dough and the sauce.
Oh, do you really?
We do. And all the local produce guys that we use, those ingredients certainly make a huge difference too. And it's exciting this time of year to get back to the farmers market, several times a week to see what's around. And we, I think part of our equation is always to keep things flexible in our kitchens. At all three places, we have a menu that we can reprint or rewrite on the chalkboard every single day, so the chefs can use what's around, use what's available, and what's exciting to them.
You have, and the one thing too is that you don't seem to overcomplicate anything. I mean, your menus are pretty simple and straightforward, and I like that they're flexible. Is that sort of narrowing it down and keeping things pretty simple part of what you think has helped you all, whether it's through attracting customers or through managing the business well?
Yeah, I think Trophy has certainly proven that for us. Is that we have pizza, we have salads, we might have a few small plate options, but in general it's pizza, salad, and beer, and it's done well. I think I certainly appreciate it if you're in the mood for pizza and you can get a good pizza somewhere. Like, you want to go somewhere where you feel comfortable that people are putting their best effort into it and doing a good job. So that certainly has been something I've been excited about at Trophy. The Bee menu, has shrunk and grown over the years. It's taken some different transformations, but it's still always the same concept. There's nothing on the menu that we're not excited about, and that's not coming in fresh. So it's certainly as simple as you can keep it, and still having enough appeal. There's certainly some balance there to be spoken about, but yeah, absolutely.
You talk a little bit about State of Beer, because I have not. I've visited Trophy and Busy Bee, but I've never been since you opened State of Beer. So it's a bottle shop, but you have sandwiches, or what would you say about it?
Yeah, so we're not known for going into the busiest neighborhoods in town in each place we've opened. And State of Beer is no different. We're on Hillsborough Street, which we're on the downtown end, not far from the state capitol. It's sort of a quiet little zone between busy neighborhoods, between downtown Raleigh and Glenwood South neighborhood of Raleigh. So we have this tiny little shop that we wanted to be a little bit different because there are a lot of bottle shops popping up, and there are a lot of really great bottle shops pretty close by. So we do bottles, and we keep the same mentality that we keep at the Bee with our bottle list is it's beer that we're excited to drink. We're not going to carry things that, might sell that we're not excited about. So the retail section is stocked with those bottles, and we also do 12 draft beers. Again, the same mentality, things we're excited for. We fill 32-ounce crowlers. So instead of growlers, they're 32-ounce cans. So we'll fill those, with whatever draft beer you want, and we seam the lid right to the base of the can and give you, a 32-ounce can of beer to take home. So we do that. We do sandwiches as well. So we get bread from a local bakery, Yellow Dog. They actually deliver their bread every morning on a bicycle, which is pretty cool. And we get
they deliver the bread on a bicycle every day?
They do. They have a basket on their bicycle. They're literally, right down the road. So, so fresh bread every morning, lots of local meats and cheeses. We do some cheese plates, some charcuterie, pickle plate, all kinds of things that pair nicely with beer. So as the weather's getting nicer, we're putting a little patio out front and just learning as we go, as we have at the other two places. But it's been a really nice reception the first 3 or 4 months.
Congratulations, man! Y'all are really that's exciting. Several different concepts, and each one seems to be doing really well. Now you've got the second trophy? What do you think? Do you think you'll continue to expand the scope of the concepts you have, or do you think you'll take some that you already have and grow them a little bit, or is not even on your radar? Are you probably just so focused on what you have going on?
Right. Nothing further than that on our radar. It's a big project, the biggest project we've taken on, and there's going to be several stages over the next couple of years if all goes well, where we'll get the brewery open with a tap room and start learning how to distribute beer a little bit, which is the next big challenge that I'm excited for. After that gets up and running, we'll start working on the next phase, which will be the kitchen over there. So we're already planning on a garden. We have a ton of space back there where we've been talking to a local guy. Sorry about the noise.
No problem.
A local guy about a gardener, so we're about a garden over there, and we'll get things that we can use in all of our kitchens planted, and we'll build a restaurant over there. We're not sure on the concept of that yet, but it won't be the same as any of the other places. So yeah, that's plenty to keep us busy, and
you got plenty going. Yeah, exactly. Now you guys so then that's one of the things you made. I guess there's two things I want to ask you about. One of them is top of mind really is you mentioned that you're not known for going into the most what will be considered conventionally the best location. So you're maybe off the beaten path or whatever sometimes, but it works for you. So what advice do you have for somebody they're looking around at locations and their heart's in one location because it's like traditionally like this is the best location, it has the best foot traffic, or it's in the right part of town or whatever, versus like this one that's like maybe much less expensive, not in what would traditionally be the best areas. I mean, why are you able to, I guess, what gives you, I guess, the confidence to continue to go into locations that have not been in the past, what would traditionally be the most desirable? And then how do you have the confidence to do that? And I guess I would ask that first.
I think that I think the confidence that we have in Raleigh and the excitement that we have here right now has certainly played a part. Even 6 years ago on Wilmington Street in Raleigh, there wasn't a lot really on the street. There's our next door neighbor Slim's, who's been there forever, and not much else right around us. So we had the confidence that Raleigh was growing. We knew there were some other projects, that the city was involved in. I don't know. There's always the pros and cons to weigh. You might be paying less rent, but you might be begging people to venture down your street. So I think we had the confidence in town. We had the confidence that we're going to continue putting energy into our business and not just, get it open, say, here we are, and, if it doesn't work. We were going to be there making sure we could get the best out of our business that we could. And, I think if you have that excitement, you're going to continue putting energy, and you're doing something that people are interested in. That's just been our thought process all along. Trophy was a little bit different. We had, it was sort of an underserved neighborhood. There's tons of apartments right across the street and right down the street that had nowhere to go. Within walking distance, there's certainly pretty close to downtown, but there's nowhere to hang out and be able to walk home, all these people can now walk across the street, and they can do their laundry at the laundromat, they can go to the convenience store, and they can come grab a beer or grab a pizza. And, so we had a little different mindset there, but it's, I don't know, there's certainly a balance to the equation, and some confidence in ourselves. I guess that's the best way to explain that.
No, it's a great way, and that's the thing, because what this gets to, which, is that you have, would you agree? You got to have confidence, but you even mentioned this earlier about not having an ego. There's a line between confidence and ego about things, and you all seem to believe in yourselves, but inwardly, but outwardly, you're not egotistical guys. As I said, you're very. I think you're very humble, and I think you're very. You guys you're quiet about what you do in a sense. So you just kind of go do good work. You make great beer and great food, and that seems to be a commonly shared trait amongst your partnership group.
Yeah, I think we're willing to take feedback and actually act on it if something's not working. We have luckily we have some honest friends who will give us honest feedback, and over the years they have things that are working, things that aren't working. Some things that aren't working, we'll continue pushing, and we'll continue believing in them. But if we realize something is a waste of our energy or a waste of our time, we're certainly willing to react and respond to that. And that probably the first big one was at the Busy Bee. We had a coffee shop in the front for the first year and a half that we were open, and it certainly wasn't a bad thing, but it was just a lot of energy we were putting out, and we weren't getting what we thought we were going to get out of it. And there were better coffee shops in the neighborhood, and coffee wasn't our passion. We were just excited to have the business open as many hours as possible, and to be probably too many things, and it was just too difficult to be good at that many things. And so we made that change a year and a half in, after listening to feedback, looking at numbers, being honest with each other that coffee wasn't our big passion, beer was. So we added some more bar stools and some more draft beer, and went on from there.
Yeah, and those kinds of decisions, while tough sometimes and probably hard to say, gosh, we thought this was going to work. We spent time and energy and money in this part of the business, but when you make that decision, I'm sure it's turned out to be a great decision. Kind of getting past the, okay, let's be intellectually honest. This isn't, what we're the best at, or where we can really excel. So even though we've invested all this time and money and energy into this part, let's change it. That's probably a hard thing to do, but then it winds up being a great decision long term for the business that you would look back and say, man, I'm glad we did that. Is that right?
That's exactly right. And even all the research we did regarding coffee and the training that we went through, to learn coffee, it was, in the end, if you're not going to be excited about it every day when you wake up, then, there just wasn't any reason to stick with it in our minds. But, I think you're exactly right.
Yeah, and I mean, that really gets to, do you guys do that on occasion, or, because I find myself, we've done this some with Schedule File, there's sometimes I think that you, particularly early on, I think we've learned over the years, that you do something because you think, okay, this is what we should do this. We should have, you guys may have said, we should have coffee here, but then do you eventually just kind of look at pieces of your business and go, even though this is maybe what we thought we should do, you kind of said that if you're not getting up and you're not excited about something, you're never going to really excel, right? You're not going to be the best
right.
at it. So why? In other words, as a terrible example that wasn't nearly as big of a deal for our businesses, changing the coffee was for you. But we used to have a Schedule Fly Twitter feed and a Facebook page, and we just didn't really we just didn't enjoy doing that. It wasn't something we enjoyed keeping up with. We felt maybe we're just putting noise out there. What if we're not going to really have our hearts in this? Let's not
right.
do it, even though you're supposed to do that. So that's kind of true in the restaurant business too. It may be a menu item. It may be that you're serving. You have a coffee shop or whatever. It's if your heart's not in it, you're never going to be the best at it. So you probably should just not do it. Is that kind of how you guys look at it?
Yeah, it's no good for anyone involved. If you're not excited about it, you're probably not doing as good a job as the person down the street that's really excited about it, and the that potential guest that decides to follow you and is excited for you in the beginning. They're certainly going to sense that you're clawing for things to post about on Facebook, and or in our case, we weren't posting about coffee because it wasn't a part of the business that was exciting. So our Facebook and our Twitter accounts were all beer related and all food related, and coffee sort of took a back seat. And certainly our guests could whether they were looking consciously or not, they certainly didn't take them long to realize coffee wasn't going to be our number one priority. So, when they're not getting the best product, they're not going to be excited to have it. You're not excited to be putting it out there, then, there's certainly no point in just trying to hang on.
Absolutely.
As far as us as a group making that decision, it just didn't make any sense.
Well, one more thing I want to ask you, Woody, and I'll let you go.
Mm-hmm.
I know you're a busy guy, but you've been in the business for a while. So you've seen a lot of restaurants come and go, and have you ever sat down and kind of thought about, places that have done well, yours included, and others, and then places that, have maybe had to close their doors? Have you ever kind of found any common threads or things where you see that, places that haven't been successful, you've seen that they've, not done something, maybe they didn't, handle the business side of it well, or didn't have enough trust in staff? Or are there any things you see as kind of, recurring trends for places that don't make it?
It's certainly no magic formula, and I respect that, and I also try to not judge places. When I see that they're closing, there's so many different reasons, that could be involved. It might not just be because, they weren't busy or something like that. There are lots of common things, that we talk about, that we try to do. I think, staying current with what people want and listening to feedback is a huge one. Keeping the facilities up. We're constantly spending money, trying to keep the B looking the same way it was in 2009. We're constantly repainting, having, the floors upstairs in the hive were redone yesterday morning. things like that. Fixing things when they break immediately, so that the building doesn't look tired and beat up and like you don't care. It's all part of people's experience and how people judge you. I think some places, like I said, there's no perfect formula. Some places can have the exact same menu for 50 years and people learn to love it, and it becomes a source of pride locally, things like that. But there's no way to actually just formulate that or plan on that.
You kind of have to
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say you kind of have to just figure. There is no. I completely agree. There is no formula, and you just kind of have to figure your own formula out. And everybody has a different one because of the way they're wired and the people involved and everything else. But you really have to. One thing you did say that I think seems to be, a really important piece is that you're constantly. You're not going, okay, well, let's just focus all of our energy on this new this new trophy brewing location. And, the Busy Bee's fine. The Busy Bee's been there 6 years. Like, you're going back and you're reinvesting in the Busy Bee, and you're constantly, looking at each of your locations and getting feedback and making tweaks. And so you're giving them love and attention always as you grow, and not taking anything for granted, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Self-awareness, I think, is it makes it difficult to sleep some nights. This industry is not for everyone by any means. But I think, for us, monitoring anything local that has to do with craft beer, if there's somewhere that I would hope that our name gets mentioned, if I'm on a beer website and someone posts about coming in to visit Raleigh and are looking for recommendations, if we're not mentioned, I want to think to myself, why, and how do I change that? And, so just being self-aware of what people think of you, and, making sure that you're still excited as the years go on. I think those are some of the keys that have helped us, and 6 years certainly isn't a really long time, but in the restaurant industry, it's a good chunk of time, and so if that's worth anything, that's what I've got.
I hear you, man. No, it really is. So, well, listen, thank you very much, Woody. You guys, we just wish you the absolute best. You really, folks, if you're in the Raleigh area, visit one of their locations. They have happy staff, they have good food, they have good beer. You're gonna be glad you went. I'll put it that way. Woody, thanks so much, man. And just tell your partners the same, and we really appreciate you taking the time to do this. We appreciate what you are doing. You guys are inspiring, and I know folks that are listening will love to learn from you today. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and thank you for keeping us organized. I look back at some old spreadsheets when we used to write schedules when we first opened, and that would not be working for 3 businesses right now. You guys make our lives a lot easier, and we appreciate it.
Oh yeah, man, absolutely. Well, we're glad to have a chance to serve you. You are exactly we built a schedule for to serve places like yours. So thank you, and just thanks for your time, and I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right, Woody. Yeah, man. Talk again soon. Take care.
Okay. Take care.
Okay, bye.